Olivia.
Hi! It's a new year.
It is a new year. We have a lot to talk about, but it is a new year. And I don't even know the episode that this is, but welcome to our podcast. We are Olivia and Amber, known as A&O, and we are very happy that you're here. Today's conversation is really hitting on things that women really don't talk about, and we want to bring that to you today. So we're happy that you have decided to listen in. Go ahead and make sure that you follow us so you don't miss another upload, because we really are just your online besties. Well, let's go ahead and get into today's conversation. We're excited you're here, and we'll see you right now on the inside. Toodles! We're in a full brand new year, 2024, which feels very strange to say.
It kind of does.
Whenever 2020 was like coming in, you know, people were like, oh my gosh, like the computers are going to crash, like life is changing. Like everybody was so scared of like, not 2020, it was 2000.
I was saying 2000.
Yeah, 2020. Hey, 2020 was trauma.
2000, yes.
And I remember like still being in school and stuff, and it was just very strange. But now you think, you're like, that was 24 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And technology is just like everything. It's living its life.
I know. It was like everybody was like freaking out, and then like the next day it was like fine.
Yeah. Like, nothing happened.
We're
here.
Anticlimactic.
Yeah. I just can't believe, I'm like 24 years ago. But when you say that, how are we even 24 years old?
I know.
For real.
Yeah, no, it's definitely mind-blowing when you think about it in that aspect. Like 24 years ago, that's when I was out of high school. Like I graduated in 2000.
Oh, which is wild. I graduated in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
Look at us. We're so grown. Okay, speaking of being grown, Tabitha Brown on her Instagram, this, you know, we have to share new news. I was like, I don't even think I have anything to share with you. I do, because this is so funny.
Mm-hmm.
Because, so she had, and tell me if you saw this video, right? I got two things to tell you. First of all, I don't know how she's getting her videos so long. You remember I went through this phase of like, how is Instagram letting me upload a 7-minute video? This is crazy. Mm-hmm. Now it won't let me do a minute. I mean, a minute and a half is all I get now. And I'm like, did something happen with my account for a second? So bizarre.
Yeah. That is so bizarre.
Yeah. So I'm noticing some accounts obviously can upload longer form. I don't know how long, maybe not past 10 minutes, but anyway, she uploaded a video, and she, you know how she calls her hair Donna, so she's going through like, you know, new phases of like menopause. So she calls it something, dang it, I can't even think about what she calls it. She's like Perry. I think she says Perry's here or something.
Oh, because it's called perimenopause.
Yeah. So she's like, y'all, Perry's here. I can't even do Tabitha Brown impression. I can't. She's so funny though. And she is 45, I think. And she's having signs of it. She said it hit her like a ton of bricks. Like she was hot out of nowhere, like a heat flash. And she was like having to like take layers of clothes off. And she was just talking about how no one prepares you. Like no one talks about it. And I find that very interesting, because at my age, I'm 37, going to be 38 in a few weeks. You're turning 42
this year. 42. Yeah.
42. And I'm like, us two have never even had conversations about what does that look like? What age? Courage is she's Alan's age, 43 already, right?
Mm-hmm.
She just turned 43. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm like, even like y'all gonna be hitting that before I hit that. What? I cannot. How are we this age?
Yeah, I feel like it's so funny because I've been hearing that conversation a lot lately. Like, I've been hearing the conversation that nobody hears that nobody has the conversation, right?
Uh-huh.
I feel like that is trending right now because I've heard that a couple times by just like celebrities getting interviewed because they're getting up in age and they're talking about it. Because I think I just seen an interview where Gabrielle Union was talking about it. I just seen an interview where somebody else was talking about it. I just blanked on that. But anyhow, but I'm just hearing that conversation where it's like nobody told me about it, and I'm just now thinking about it like why. And I kind of think I know why people don't talk about. I mean, not. I don't know why they don't talk about it, but I feel like once you get to that age, like your mom, she's went through it or whatever, or she's going through it or whatever age, difference you guys are. I think it comes up to a time where the life is just, when that hits, life is just like so busy. The parents are doing their thing, you doing your thing or whatever. It's just like, oh yeah, let me have a conversation. It's like, when is a good time? Like, they don't want to tell you in your 20s, like your 30s, like they're like, no, she don't need to worry about it. And then it's like, I feel like it just hits, it just comes. And then it just comes at a time where it's just like, I don't even know how you like start like, oh, just wait till you get this. I mean, I've heard that sometimes before, but not like, oh, let me tell you exactly what's going to happen or anything like that.
Women, they're like, oh, hot flash, they like doing this, or they're saying it's like you can't control the heat, it's from the inside, and that's all and then you're just like, well, that sucks. Like,
yeah, and I think that's one thing too. Like, that's one of the things I feel like the hot flashes are one of the most popular symptoms. So I guess there's other things I don't even know. Like, I don't even know, but I guess there's other things too that happen. That's why everybody's saying like, nobody told me about this. Like, because all these other things happen too. With the hot flashes. So yeah, I don't know. That's a whole conversation for someone who's more educated on.
Yes. Well, and honestly, it had me thinking yesterday because I had nursery at church with a friend, and she is already gone through the menopausal like phase or whatever. And she said something about it. And because Tabitha Brown online was saying stuff about it, I never would have then said, tell me what are the things that you go through? Because now I'm very intrigued. Like, one day I'm going to do this, so I would like to be somewhat prepared, just mentally, I guess. So I think that we also have to ask, like, our parents, they don't come out and say it, but if you don't ask questions, it's kind of like talking to a kid about birds and the bees. If you kind of like answer what they ask you, and then sometimes you stop because you're like, I don't want to overwhelm them, or I don't want to like go too far too soon, whatever. But then sometimes you have to just be direct and be like, do you want to talk about this right now? Like, we can talk about it. I can tell you. And so I asked her questions yesterday, and I was I was like, huh? I was like, what? This is crazy. She said 8 years. 8 freaking years of having menopausal activity, hormonal things in your body happening. She said the first sign for her was, she said something with her foot or something started like aching her. You know what I mean? Like, started like hurting. She just started feeling like different, like achy feelings, right? Or something. And she was talking about that. And then she was talking about her hair texture changed. Like, she used to have this silky, long, amazing hair, but then it's no longer that. It's like the coarsest, most tangly, knotty hair ever. And she's like, it's very strange. Hair fallout, of course. Hot flashes, of course. She's like, my sheets would be in a puddle of water. You can't stop the heat. You can't take off more clothes. You're hot. Like, and then like, she just starts saying things, and then she would go to her doctor. Like, what are things that you do to either control, prevent, or maintain? Like, what do you do? And she said he went from 0 to 10. He was like, well, let's take everything out. Basically, like, let's do a whole. She was like, okay, so there's got to be some in-betweens. Like, let's not be extreme, So she ended up going to, like, a holistic doctor, and she gave her some, just some things to take, supplements to take. And she said it helped control some stuff. But it was better than ripping everything out. And then you got to deal with all that stuff. Like, it's just like one thing on top of another. I think these are conversations that we have to have in our 30s because we need a few years to prepare.
Yeah. I guess a couple days. It sounds like it.
I'm like, this is bizarre. Yeah. So, and then Tabitha talked about, did you watch it though? Did you see this video at all?
No.
This is what I love about these conversations. So she did the video and then someone commented something about bamboo pajamas. So then she did another video talking about, oh my gosh, thank you so much. The same day I looked it up. I was on Amazon. They were at my house. Like, I ordered these bamboo pajamas. She was like, ooh, I can breathe. She was like, it is so comforting and cooling. And she said, it's just awesome. Right. And then she talked about, she's like, do they create bamboo bonnets? Because my head, Donna, is hot. So then she started talking about that. She's like, maybe they don't. Maybe I need to invent that. Well, that's something to look at. So,
I mean, she got a whole hairline and everything. So
yeah,
that would go good with her brand.
It really would. And it just was funny to me. And I'm like, we don't know these things. And then a lot of times when you come out of the stage, you kind of forget how bad it was. Maybe like you. And then
I think once you get out of it, you're just like, love God.
Yeah. It's like the first 10 years of marriage. People are like, how's married life? You're like, well, I ain't going back there. I don't know. We passed that. I can't even bring that up. I don't know. You forget about the things. But that right there, premenopause, I don't know. That's nuts.
Yeah, that's so nuts. Whew, okay, let me tell you.
By the way, your natural hair looks so good today.
Oh yeah. Oh, by the way, I guess the podcast don't know. Yeah. I cut my hair over New Year's.
Looks so good.
Got a little short, little hair, curly hair. Doing a new year, I'm not doing new year, new me, but new year, new hair. Okay.
New hair. Yeah.
I want to know. Okay, so this is over the Christmas and holiday season. I watched a lot of YouTube. Of course, I'm always watching YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, what's up? Hey, if you're listening to us on a podcast, we love you still, but it's the video that I love. But anyhow, listen, these YouTube streets is going wild right now. Okay, first of all, I got to tell you about this Cat Williams interview. Right, this Cat Williams interview.
When you say Cat Williams, I'm like, tell me who Cat Williams is one more time.
Cat Williams is a comedian. He's a comedian. He's the guy.
Okay, I think I know. Let me Google while you're talking. I gotta get a face.
Yeah, get a face with the name. Yeah, he is a comedian. He's an actor. He was in like some movies too, like Friday and stuff like that. And so he had this interview on Club Shay Shay, and so Club Shay Shay is Shannon Sharp's. Yes, that's him. Mm-hmm. Shannon Sharp is a ex-football player who is like a host for some sports shows, and now he got his own podcast channel, which is kind of blowing up. And it's been on a blow up because he's had definitely some good interviews on there, and he's always doing like anywhere from 1 million to 2 million per interview on his YouTube channel. But this interview did 50 million, like insane, and it did like 20 something million in like days of it being literally days of it being released or whatever, which was crazy. So I want to talk about twofold. I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about, number one, the interview was crazy because Cat Williams doesn't do a lot of interviews, but on this interview, he had time today. He had time today because he was calling out all comedians. He was talking about people stole jokes from him. He was talking about people a part of the Illuminati. I mean, he was just talking about all kind of crazy stuff, like just calling comedians out, actors, like whoever he had beef with or had something to say about it, he said it on this podcast, right? And so it was very explosive almost. And I think it was so funny because it's just so funny to me, like how things trend on the internet. So it's like, okay, you have this interview, it comes out, it's explosive. Then you have everybody that he talked about. Now they are making comments about like what he said. They have the rebuttals. And it's just like this not never ending, but it's just this cycle of like, oh, he said this. Oh, he's responding to this. Oh, he's even doing different things to like, because one of the people he talked about was Kevin Hart. And then later on, he found out that Kevin Hart's ex-wife is going on tour with him now, with Cat Williams. Wow. So it's like, it is so wild and bananas. But I was looking at the content, and then from a content aspect, right? Because we create content, and obviously to get 50 million views on a video is like someone's salary for a year. Okay, or not? No, let me say that. Not somebody rich salary for a year. Somebody broke salary for about 10 years. Okay.
Yeah.
It is a massive amount of just AdSense. Not even, because he did have some ads on that video, like some sponsorships or whatever.
Yeah.
Brand sponsorships that was on that video. And I knew, like, just thinking about the business aspect of it, because like, if you know, okay, most time, you know how if we record a video, if we do an interview, right? Prior to us even putting out the interview, we already know, like, after we're done recording, we're like, oh my gosh, that interview was so good. So I know when they finished that interview, they were like, this is like gold. Because even before they posted it, he posted something in his community tab that said this interview is gonna break the internet. So you know he went to that brand and was like, you got to be in front of a lot of people. Y'all got to cut the check. So I already know, just thinking about that, like that brand check was probably stupid. And then to have that many views on that video, like I think he had 2 sponsorships in that video too. He did 2 brand sponsors in that video. And so it's like, so I know those checks had to be stupid. Because I knew.
Do you think that he went back to negotiate the?
No, I don't think he went back. I think he just. I don't know if he went back, but I think, you know, if you have brands lined up and you're like, okay, I'm going to put this on this video. I think he definitely. True. Or maybe, I don't know how he did it. Honestly, I don't know, but I feel in my heart of hearts that he probably, once he knew, like, I'm going to put this brand sponsorship on this video.
Yeah,
it's going to go nuts. Because he called it. He called it. Like, before he even put the video out, he said this interview is going to break the internet. And it did. It did. I mean, people were talking about on the internet. People was talking about, I mean, on on talk shows, like radio, like every form of media talked about this interview in some aspect. You know, I know now we're talking about it on our podcast, but a lot of even comedians who do podcasts, they had a whole what's his name? Gary Owens. He did a whole podcast about the podcast. Like,
who interviewed him?
Shannon Sharp. Shannon Sharp, his
yeah, I'm looking it up right now.
His name of his channel, I don't know. The podcast is called Club Shay Shay.
That's what I was just about to ask you. I was like, no, this guy keeps popping up. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a 2-hour and 45-minute interview.
Yes.
In there in person with each other.
Yeah. How many views do it have?
That's what I was, 53 million.
Yeah, that's insane.
3 million more than it just was.
Huh?
3 million more than you just said, 50.
Yeah, exactly. And to not only say that, from that video, he made like 37 clips on his channel from that one video, which also did like millions of views.
Which is so smart. I mean, this is just content in general, but that video I shared with you the other day about that guy giving YouTube tips or whatever, and he's like, you better cut clips before somebody else cuts clips.
Yeah.
They're going to cut clips and they're going to cash in on your content. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, yeah, look, he's like, nah, I got them. I got all the clips you may ever need or want. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, no, he cut clips like there was no tomorrow. And I mean, those clips did just as well as the dang on video. Like, you know, it was insane how many clips he cut. And then how many views those clips got. So, I mean, we're not talking about content here, but we are talking about content. Like, repurpose your content. Like,
naturally, we us two, when I say we, A&O, like us together, that's what blows our mind sometimes. And so naturally in our conversations in real life, those that are listening, this is actually the stuff that we do talk about. We're just like, what? Like crazy. Yeah, it just is stupid. Yeah, it's stupid smart.
Yeah, no, it is insane. Okay, now let's talk about, you know, I don't always talk about this on this podcast, but I definitely think in 2024, I'm going to be talking about it more because it's something that I love to talk about and I have nobody talk about it. So I got to tell Amber sometimes about this true crime. And this one is trending right now because what is happening in our world where true crime people get out of jail and now they are an influencer. Now they have a Instagram and they have documentaries. Now, granted, this person is, I don't know. I feel, I don't know. But have you heard about Gypsy Rose?
No, and so I was wondering who you were going to say, because the first person I think about, which we haven't spoke about her in a while, is Anna Delvey.
Oh,
like my dad. But that's exactly when you say, because when you just added in, like now now they're influencers, now they have a platform, whatever. I'm like, Anna.
Yes, that is exactly what I'm saying. So we have Anna Delvey who did a crime and she got out. Now she has like this. She's an influencer. She got this whatever, and it's very, very, very. I don't even know what the word is. But
I don't either.
I was gonna say very interesting, but I was like, is it interesting? It's just crazy. It's wild. That's what it is. It is wild to me. And so now Gypsy Rose, she just got out of prison or whatever, and she went to prison for killing her mom.
This is the girl. Okay, so I'm looking up all these people because when Olivia drops these names, I'm like, I've got to see a face.
Yes.
Give a backstory.
Okay, so I'll give a small little synopsis. Gypsy Rose, she went to jail because her boyfriend at the time when they were young ended up killing her mom. And the reason why they killed the mom is because the mom had what they call the I don't know, whatever disease, where you pretend like your child is sick. And so you try to garner all of this sympathy, help, finances, all these things because you say that your child is sick. And so basically she had Gypsy Rose like in a wheelchair. She had her getting surgeries that she didn't.
So the mom was also a nurse, I did hear, right?
No, not that one. That is not the mom. That's the nurse. That's the other mom from the Florida hospital, from the J Hatch case.
Right, but I guess I heard that this mom was a nurse and she had access to medicine to make her daughter feel like she had these symptoms. Is that true?
This lady?
Yes, that she had access to medicine. So if she said you can't walk, this mom was able to give her daughter medicine that actually enabled her to physically like walk. So it like
I never now that this is interesting, Amber. You might be telling me something. I did not. This story I have not followed. I will follow a story. This story I have not followed.
Yeah.
She got released out of jail. I have not watched any of the documentaries. I have not did anything from the story. I just think it's wild that now she's like doing interviews and documentary and getting married. I just think it's just interesting how like her life is now out of jail. So that's the only part I really know. I don't really know too much about their actual story besides the fact that this is what the mom did. I had no idea the mom is a nurse. So if she is, that's news to me.
News to me. I'm just going off of what I heard. And I think, if I'm not wrong, now this could be a lot of rumors, but I think I heard that off of Savannah Chrisley's, when that episode I'm going to talk to you about, I think she brought that up because some people were like, how do you feel about her being out of jail and she killed her mom? Or, she plotted the whatever. What do you call it? I don't know what that legal
I don't know what it's called.
But they're like, how do you feel that she's out of jail, she's out of prison and she did that, but your parents are still in? And then she was like, yeah. And then she kind of, I think it was her that hinted into, and she was doing this to her daughter or something. I may have heard it off another clip, but I watch a lot of shorts, so I don't know. But
so I just think it's wild that I just think it's wild. Not that I think anything is. I just think it's wild. I don't even know what I feel about it, other than it being wild that she's out of jail. She got married in jail.
What?
Yeah. She got married in jail.
To an inmate?
No, to a person that was on the outside.
They did a wedding in jail?
I don't know if they did a wedding, but they got married.
Well, I guess you can sign documents?
Yeah, you can sign documents, yeah. First of all, Amber, you act like you've never heard of people get married in jail.
I've heard of people waiting for someone to get married when they get out of prison, but not because...
No, people get married in jail.
Yeah, no, I think that's dumb. So dumb. I do. Oh, it's very bizarre to me.
Yeah, okay. No, people get married in jail. She got married in jail. Apparently the guy started writing her in jail. People just write random people, and so he started writing her because this is his story. He said that he had another friend who was like, oh, I should write the guy from Tiger King or something like that. And then he was like, well, if you write him, then I'm going to write Gypsy Rose. So it's just like, oh, whatever. This like little thing between two people. And then so they both write whoever they go write. And so he starts writing Gypsy Rose. And apparently they fall in love over some letters and get married.
Oh, my God. He could be psycho. Girl.
I mean, that's what everybody is saying, like, because he basically picked her up from jail, and everybody's like, oh, maybe he's like, and he's like some type of teacher, like a teacher. He's like some random guy, whatever. But they're like, oh, he could be this, and he shouldn't be doing that, and blah, 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 people on the internet. So I'm just like, I mean, I guess she does have her dad, and I think she has a stepmom. So I'm like, it's not like she ain't have nowhere to go, but yeah, I have no clue. Wow. But yeah, she's married and she's on her press tour right now because her documentary came out like right before, because they did a documentary while she was in jail still.
Yeah.
And now she's like on press tour or whatever, which I think that's the crazy part. Like, you just got out of jail, but now you're on the press tour, you're getting your makeup done, you're going on all the shows. I just feel like it's wild. I don't have any other. It's like it's not a bad or a good. I don't know how I feel like good or bad about it. It's just like, to me, it's just wild.
Yeah, I also find it very interesting sometimes, and wild is a good way to put it. Even, I guess a lot of times the crime's already been committed. It's not like in the middle of the crime, but like the crime's committed and now the news has picked it up, or so-and-so picked it up because they're talking about it. So I guess the more like the public is speaking about it, then someone says like, we need to make a documentary about it. I always wonder how that process starts, because there's so many stories of people that have been prosecuted that shouldn't be, or that are in prison. It would make a good, interesting story. Obviously, that's why true crime is a big thing.
Yeah.
But I always wonder what makes people pick that up, you know?
Yeah, and I know in true crime they talk about that a lot. Like, what makes these stories come to light? Because, like you said, there are so many stories that are similar or even worse, or could use the attention because they're still trying to find the person who committed the crimes and stuff like that. So it can really use the publicity and the energy behind it, and it doesn't get that same energy, right? And so what makes these stories come to light and surface and like bubble over, and now everyone's talking about them, and I feel like nobody has been able to come to a good conclusion, like, because we talk about last year or 2 years ago, or I don't know how many years ago now, probably like at least 2 years ago, when the girl from that was out in the mountains,
I can't even, I'm trying to think of her name. Why am I drawing a blank?
Yeah, she was trying to be an influencer and was killed by her fiance. What's his name? What's her name?
I don't even know.
I don't know either. Wow, I'm drawing a blank. Oh, come back to me.
Yeah, it'll come back to you. You'll look it up. About that too, I've never followed a true crime case, period, until that. Yeah, but you've always been into it, right?
Well, this is the thing. I've not always been into it, but I was in it before that or whatever. But I'm trying to think what case actually got me into it. I've always kind of been lightly into it, but not as much as I am now. I'm not
sure. You know what? It's like, it's hitting me. What is their freaking name? Oh my gosh.
I know anyway, the guy came to me. His name is Brian Laundrie. Brian. Okay, yes. Brian. And then the girl name was what? Oh, I hate that. I remember his name over hers. That's really bothering me.
Yeah, it really does.
What is her name?
I'll look it up because I know you're on your phone. Yeah. So we would sit at the vanities though and do our makeup. And I mean, it would be early mornings. We're both getting in there, and you're walking in listening to something, right? It's like I can see it, and you're just walking in listening to something. I'm like, what are you listening to? Whatever. There were a couple cases before that one popped up, but that one you would come in and you would have your phone sitting down. That's what got me started, is because I would hear it, then I would look it up. So then, of course, it's on my feed. But there was one channel, Joseph, this guy Joseph, bald-headed man or whatever. He would always cover. He had his little corgi in the back of the car or his video, and he would cover the case. Oh, shoot. Did it knock me off? Oh, it didn't.
No, okay. You're still here.
And he would cover the case, and it would be live things like the day, and he would always be live like that day or whatever, multiple times. I couldn't stop listening and following that. It was nuts.
I think that's how you kind of get caught up into true crime. I feel like, especially because I feel like that case was breaking, right? So you have some cases where it's like, okay, like Gypsy Rose, you already know what happened. So like now people are following the case, but now there's like, okay, let's just kind of see what happens next. And I think a lot of times too, like that story happened a while ago, so people didn't really know about it. She spent like 7 or 8 years in jail or something like that. So, it happened a long time ago, but people, are still now, because I feel like because of the YouTubers, the true crime YouTubers who are covering these cases, I feel like that makes these cases even more popular.
Gabby
Petito.
Gabby Petito. Yeah, I couldn't even type the name, and then I was like Brian in, and it Gabby popped in. Yeah. I actually don't want that on my feed. I can't. I can't even. I don't want it. Type it.
Yeah. So I think that's her name. So I think that because of the YouTubers and the true crime people who talk about these cases, I feel like that's what makes them a lot more popular too. And like then they're just covering it. They're covering it minute by minute, like what's going on, what's happening. That case was breaking. So I feel like that was the first case that I really listened to that was like breaking, like things were happening in the case. And then from there, I feel like I was just, from there I was in the algorithm.
Yep.
So really and truly, some of the people that I listened to during that time of that case, like they continue to cover other cases. Oh, no, it wasn't that case. I was going to say, I thought it was, Johnny Depp, but Johnny Depp was after that.
Oh yeah, and then I got into that. Oh my gosh, that just sucked. We would come in and sit and go, "What is happening?
Yeah,
how is this even happening?" Amber was, and I hate to even represent her name right now. Hate it with a passion. She was, first of all, hysterical in court. She had the most sourpuss face on. She is over there really trying to look annoyed and confused at her. I'm like, please stop it. Stop. It was just not. And he is just cool, calm, but he's obviously still annoyed too. But
yeah,
I'm glad he won that case. I really am glad. And I know there's situations where that a lot of it could be true. I'm sure. I mean, a lot of it was like they had a very toxic relationship, but she put a lot of it like trying to really take him down. And I know abuse, I don't take that lightly at all, but I'm like, it was mind boggling, that case.
It was mind boggling to figure out just all the twisted. I mean, that case had so many twists and turns of like situations that happened in their life. Like you said, it was very toxic, but I think that sometimes people try to figure out a way to like get over on someone. Like, you knew it was, it was him, it was her, but I feel like she took it above and beyond what it had to be. Like, at points of the relationship, from just evidence, like he was done, he was ready to go. Like, even though they had been both fighting each other, he was done with it, and she just couldn't really let that go. So I think she just took it above and beyond, and just now it was like, okay, how can I get him? You know what I'm saying? It's like, I feel like it was more of a revenge or retaliation on him. And that was a crazy story. But that true crime is something that I don't listen to everything. Some cases I cannot watch. I don't listen to. I don't care about. But there are some cases that I do really get involved in. And I'm listening to minute by minute. And I really like listening to court. Like, that's my new thing. Like, I like listening to these cases, but I love listening to court. Like, I feel like, okay, I'm in court for 2 weeks when a trial is going on.
but you're not having to suffer through, I got paid $20 this week from
I'm not on the jury. Yes.
Yeah, I think let's talk about that, because they basically pay pennies. It is so stupid to me.
Yes.
I'm like, you're taking people out of their jobs where they have got to provide. Now you're forcing them to figure out all childcare. You got to be here all day. I don't know when it's ever going to end. I'm only going to pay you $20 this week to be here 90 hours. Like, it just that's how extreme it is. It's so stupid.
I think, a couple things about that. I don't know why they paid him $20. I feel like you could at least pay them $50 a day. Like, I feel like because I think what they try to do is they want to make it a fee that's like not too much that people like, I'm about to go to the jury. Like, they don't take it seriously because they're getting paid for it. And then I feel like they pay that little amount so people like take it serious, but no, they're not really getting paid for it. Like, I feel like they can give a little bit more. Like, y'all could do a little bit more and not go too above and beyond, so people are like using the system to get paid to just do jury duty or whatever. But I think the funny part about it is I always used to try to I get jury duty summons. I'll be making up excuses like it is no tomorrow. But I feel like now, after watching true crime more, I actually wouldn't mind being on a jury.
Yeah, I feel like you would actually be very good at it. Yes. They ask you questions. I've only done it one time. And they ask you questions where you're like, they're like, have you ever had someone in your family get a DUI? Have you ever, they ask you these extreme things because they want to know how would you, be to be on this case or whatever. Interesting. Yeah. I think I showed up to it. Actually, I had to drive to Winston-Salem. So I don't know what it was. It was still in North Carolina, but it wasn't like our county. So I guess it was like state. I don't know. How I got that, I don't know, but I drove there and they ended up not even picking me. They didn't even get through everybody to ask questions. So it's like they already picked their people, and then everybody else, they were like, all right, y'all can just go home. We're done. I was like, thank gosh. I couldn't imagine. I was sweating. I was like, what can I tell them? It just gives me the heebie-jeebies. And it was about a plane crash or something. And that was pre-having kids, too. So I didn't know how extreme and anxious I get now knowing. But then I was like, I'm not even interested in knowing what happened. Like this.
I think that I was just about to say, I feel like that would be the worst part about it. That part, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I don't know. I guess it have to depend on what kind of case it was, because I feel like that is the worst part of jury duty, and that is having to like review videos or photos of, it could be a civil case, right? You could be a jury. You could be on a jury of a civil case, which I think is completely fine. You're probably just looking at paperwork, like documents and stuff like that. That's fine. But if you're on a in case, that's short for something, y'all know. If you're on that type of case, then you gonna have to view those types of things, and I'm probably not that interested in that part. But I could do a civil case. I could do like a Johnny Depp case.
Which is that was a long, drawn out trial. It was long. It was
that was long. It was. That was a long case for a civil case, but I feel like they had so much material. There was so much incidents that happened. It wasn't just like it was like one incident and it's like two incidents and it's like, okay, no, there was so many incidents. And I feel like they didn't even date for that long. So it's like, y'all really was doing the most. I mean, it was actually married, not date, but married for that long. So I think true crime, I feel like true crime, it has its pros and cons of being out there. I really do think that it is allowing people to kind of, it's allowing the court system to be more transparent. I feel like that is a good thing about having true crime and covering these cases, because there's less times where, people can get kind of railroaded into certain things because everybody's watching, right? And nowadays I love, because most of the people that I listen to when it comes to true crime is like lawyers, ex-prosecutors, because I feel like they know about law, and so when they're talking about the stories, they can give better insight. And so I love listening to like Lori, or Emily D. Baker and things of that nature. And then I do listen to some just like lay people who just kind of like give their opinion on the cases too. So true crime is a whole thing. And speaking of true crime, now tell me what Savannah is talking about.
Okay, so I never want to be like I'm coming for somebody, but this really had me. I literally had to turn the podcast off. And I don't know why. I think I do know why it triggered me. But anyway, so I'll give you a little backstory. A couple weeks ago, and I've been listening to Savannah's podcast for quite some time, but I think what got me involved with listening to it was really all this going on with her parents. And I was like, okay, great. Well, I'm going to hear her, spin on this. Or she would have her mom on while all of it was going on, and you could kind of get caught up. Well, a couple weeks ago, she had their lawyer on, and I was listening to it even with Alan in the car. And I was like, listening to it and just kind of like, wow, like this could really happen to anybody, and that's really what happened, is that it's not like they really committed this insane fraud. They were just doing what businesses do. They borrow money to do things with money, right? For work. And when sales went down in real estate, okay, well, they could not pay that. So now they had, this debt out there or whatever. So they were just doing stuff financially like that. And then you always have someone that is another business partner. And it's like they show up for you to do certain things. And that's just the role they take. So it was a lot of money. It was a lot of money. It's not like they went and got all these loans out to go buy all this, this material things and live this lavish lifestyle. They obviously were making money. They had a show. They were doing things legit. It just doesn't look good, But it's really like they just got picked, right? It's like, we're gonna make fools of them. We're gonna show, people or whatever. And that's really what it was. And more recently, I think after she interviewed her lawyer, they won some federal the federal part of what they went through, and now the government's paying them back $1 million, just cut them $1 million check. Yeah. I don't know how that works, if it's overtime or if it's one lump sum, I'm not really sure. But doesn't that show you, as a regular person in society, thinking negatively or badly about their case, that should open your eyes to be like, there's a lot of crooked crap going on, you know? And there really was in their case, right? A lot of it was black and white, but a lot of it was like, this is innocent stuff that happens all the time. I could show you 20 people that have done the same thing I've done. Go get them too, right? So it just really...
I think I would love to. One of the things is, it was definitely a case I did not follow, but before I, because it's one-sided, right? You listen to their lawyer talk about their case, right? And so I only say that because I just recently listened to a lawyer who's representing the case here that's in Tallahassee, in the mall, and he is going on this podcast. And because now I've watched the trials, I've seen the evidence. What he's saying is not exactly true. Not to say that Savannah's lawyer isn't saying, but I would love to see some of their court proceedings to kind of see like what was shown in court, right? Not just what their lawyer said, because also what the prosecutor said, because I'm so lost on like what I know that they had the business partner and all of those things, but I just think once again it is so wild. And like you said, people get accused and are falsely accused or in jail or prison or whatever, just because they, someone didn't like them or somebody decided to, make an example out of them. But that case is crazy to me. But for them to get paid $1 million, I'm like, that should open up some eyes and be like, especially because I do know that they said that state case is what led to their federal case.
Yes.
So if you just got granted $1 million from a state case, that ultimately led to the federal case, like, okay, we need to backtrack and figure out like what went wrong in that state case. So I do hope they get out, because I feel like they are old people. I mean, first of all, this is tripping me out too lately here, because there's a lot of old people going to prison these days.
Yeah.
Like them, the lady that just got arrested from the case here, she's like 70 years old. Like the Murdaugh man from South Carolina, he ain't that old, but he's old. Like, these old people going to prison is not... I mean, I don't think anybody should go to prison, but you know what I'm saying? It's just wild to me that these old people are getting prison time.
Yeah, for sure. And I just don't think there's a right answer for any. And this is how I think Savannah says this often. How does she word it? She's like, there's no black and white when it comes to any case. It's not like, well, you did this and this is your punishment. It's all case by case, trial by trial. Like everybody, that's just what it is, which makes it really hard. It's like, okay, well, you were speeding, here's a ticket. It's not like that. So every case is very different. So anyways, so with that being said, I've listened to her podcast. I enjoy listening to her podcast. Sometimes when I'm listening to any type of interview or podcast, I'm always doing something. I'm taking a shower. I'm folding laundry. I'm doing house chores. I'm not actively like working or anything, because I can't do that at the same time. It's just too much, but I'm doing something to have some noise. And so I'm typically just consuming it and listening to it. And I'm typically by myself when I'm doing that as well, because you never know on that podcast what you're going to hear or see. I mean, I watch it too on YouTube. So, but she said she had one recently, I think her latest one, and she was kind of having a crappy day, and she's just very blunt, which I respect, but she's like, I'm just having a crappy day, so I'm just going to give it to y'all. So she was in her DMs, and I think she had asked a question on stories, and so she was just answering questions. Well, she answered several questions, and some of them I'm just like putting my brows up and I'm like, okay, girl, like that's cool, and just interested and just laughing. I'm like, okay, everybody's different. But there was one question. It was like, how are you doing? Oh, no, it was like, what car do you drive? That's what it was. It was like, what car do you drive? And you could tell it annoyed her in a way, because I think people are just very intrigued by other people's lives. And she will be one to tell you, I work for everything I have. You know what I mean? Like, I'm still cutting checks. I got sponsorships. I'm doing these TV shows. I'm doing XYZ to get checks. So anything I got, I just got it. You know, it wasn't. So she's quick to tell you what her money is. It's good and clean. But she was like, it was like, what car do you drive? And, you know, she was just like, oh, I wish I had the clip like this. She's like, a black Escalade or something like that, which I don't care what you drive. Cool. Drive a black Escalade. Cool with me. That's not what bothered me. And she was like, you know, mom life, just being a mom. I just was like, stop. That is not true. Like, okay, so yes, you have 2 kids. Yes, it's not that that's not true, but moms drive different things. Mom drive a car, a beater, a nice vehicle, a regular sedan. Like, they drive all things. Some moms don't even drive. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't even have the luxury of having a vehicle. Some of them are catching the bus and Ubers every day. Like, just because you have kids that you have to take care of does not mean that, yes, because I have kids, I have a black Escalade. Like, that just doesn't make sense to me. I really don't think she meant it that way. I think she meant, like, because I have a big car, I have to have like a SUV because of the kids or something. But it's just how it came off. I had to turn it off. I was like, that was the last set. I was like, you know what, Savannah, you doing the most today, girl. Goodbye. I could not. I was speechless. I was like, shut up.
I think also, I feel like you had that mindset is because, like, girl, you do not have like toddlers where you have like car seats or, you know, diaper bags and all. Like, you have 2 like teenage, like, I don't know how Chloe is. Maybe she's not quite a teenager, but close. And the oldest one, he's a teenager. Like, girl, you don't need no Escalade for these 2. Like, you can carry them around in a Toyota whatever, you know, you can carry them around in a regular sedan and be fine. Like, you don't need, like, what do they do? Like, they got that many book bags? Like, what do they need that much room for? Like, yes, it's nice to have that much room, and I'm sure it makes your life easier, but don't act like you got to have an Escalade because you got 2 kids.
You're a mom. Yeah, and I think, and that's what I explained to you the other day, and I'm like, there's a different approach, and I don't think there's ever an easy approach. There are many times I screw up with my words, and I'm like, well, that's just what it is. But I really feel like it was like, I drive a black Escalade because I love it and I'm bougie, and that's the life I live, and that's what I want to drive. Cool. And yeah, and I got 2 kids to tote around, so it works for me. I would respect that more than being like, black Escalade because I'm a mom. I'm like, stop it. You know? Yeah, I'm like, drive what you want, wear what you want, have the house you want. I literally could care less, but then own it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, own what you are, you know?
Yeah.
But it had me. But her podcast is very intriguing. It's very interesting. And you know, I can take her. Alan cannot stand her voice. So he won't. He's like, I just cannot stand it. I can't stand it. But she has some really good valid points. And I respect her a lot for learning about the court system and all of that. And I applaud her for that. And I'm like that. And it's great that she has a platform to be able to share, because I think it's very eye-opening to the public that we're very naive to how things work. And obviously they're living it. So I think for her to share that experience is really cool, because if that ever happened to someone in your family, it just kind of goes like, even though families are always fighting for their family members, but they just don't have the platform to share. Do you know what I mean? It's like more behind the scenes. And then it's very frustrating. And she hits walls, she said. She's like, I just don't know what else to do. I'm just going to keep doing this, you know? But yeah.
Another thing too, I heard someone criticize her the other day, because she is on this stance of like, now she wants to, figure things out and make a difference in the court system. And someone said something that was so good, right? In response to that criticism is that people are like, oh, of course now she wants to do something because her parents are going through it. But this is the thing. That's when people get activated. When things happen to them, like it's like moms against drunk drivers. Moms just don't come up and say, oh, I want to have this whole thing against drunk drivers unless your kid, something happens to your kid from a drunk driver. Like that's how you're activated, right? And so until something happens to you, or something happens in your life or happens in your family, like that's what activates you. That's what gets you to a place that now, like I didn't realize this was even happening. And she said that several times on her podcast, like I had no clue. Like this wasn't even in my radar to what was going on. I had no reason to think about it, see about it, because her family wasn't going to jail like that. So it was like, now that this has happened, it has activated her. So I think, the criticism talking about, oh, now she wants to do something. Well, like before, like you don't want to do anything until something comes up, or even if you don't have it happen in your house. Like if you're like if you're like, okay, I want to give back to shelters or whatever, you might have never been into a shelter, but you might have experienced someone has, or you might have heard of a story or something triggered something had to come into place where you're like, now I want to do this thing because now I know more. My eyes have been open to it. I now have a heart to help, this population or this, subset of people because I have been introduced to whatever is happening. So I think that's just how it works. So I do think people give her a bad rap for that because I feel like anybody else would do it, anybody else would do that if something happens. So I think people just need to cut it out with that.
Yeah. I'm glad you hit on that because that really is true. You do hear, and then people give them bad, just bad press on it in general. And I'm like, how does anything ever start though? So yeah, that I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
Whoa, we talked about a lot today.
Yeah, we talked about a lot.
Yeah. I hope when you're listening that you're doing something that you can just prop the phone up and hang out with us. That's always our goal. We really do this podcast just because we are truly best friends in real life, and we have these conversations off camera. I don't think that we think too highly of ourselves that we're like, we have to put this out there. It's just we enjoy content like this where it's just easy to listen to and it's very effortless and it's fun, but it also keeps you in the know. And so we like covering things that we're interested in or that we're hearing about that's kind of trending topics. And that allows us to, just kind of have an honest conversation with you online. So if you would love to give us a review, that would be so freaking epic and dope. The biggest compliment you can give us is just say, hey, I listened. Where are you listening from? It would be so sweet to give us a 5. And listen to the other upcoming episodes. And if you're on YouTube, hit subscribe because we have content on our channel for sure. But our most recent kind of epic content that we're evolving into in 2024 is this. It's just these type of girlfriend conversations. We're your online besties, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and also, if you want to have more in-depth conversations with us, make sure you check out our Patreon, which is in this description, where we talk about even more things. We're going to be recording a private Patreon episode after this episode. And I'm going to be talking about my brand new hobby of 2024.
I can't wait to talk about that. And I'm going to be bringing up some girl stuff that I think that just like premenopausal things, we also don't talk about this stuff. And it's kind of juicy, you guys. We can't say these things publicly. So it's just, that's just the way it goes. Such a fun episode. We're happy that you are here. Hit subscribe so you don't miss another upload. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you want us to discuss next podcast, and anything that you want to know about us, maybe we can answer it. So we'll see you in the next one. Thank you for being here, and we are excited to check you next time. Toodles!